questions coming. Right, I've got first question is from Councillor Locker, followed by Councillor Mowat and then Councillor Loveland.
Hi, Ms. Belgaudy. Thank you for attending tonight and for a really very comprehensive report back. It was really useful to go through that. I just sort of wondered, was there anything that Tooting Healthy Streets did in terms of how it reached out, or how it conducted the sample? Because just one of the things that I picked up on, so just in Mr. Macmillan's briefing, this point about the noise will fade. Does the noisy majority who have the time to fill in consultations take precedence over others? And so from a similar point of view, I just sort of wonder, so when you did your survey, how did you manage that to make sure that you got a reflective sample and that you didn't have the bias in the responses?
So thank you very much for the question. Shared our survey widely. We shared it on social media. We shared it on our mailing list, the Tooting Healthy Street mailing list, our social media, but we also shared it on other community groups mailing list. We shared it on the Balam and Tooting Community Association, BATCA Association mailing list. We shared it on Tooting Transition, the Twitter from Tooting Transition, Wandsworth Living Street, and the survey was also shared on the One Wandsworth Facebook page. It was actually shared 4 times on that Facebook page. So I think that we reached out to people with diverse views in Tooting.
Great, lovely. And I've got a question from Councillor Mowat now.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I just to echo what Councillor Locker said. This is a great report, so thank you. I just wanted to pick up your point. Obviously, the response we got back was that 80% of the residents opposed them, and you follow that by saying there were problems with the way that Wandsworth collected its feedback, which seriously undermine the initial results. I wonder if you could just outline a bit more about how you would have done things differently in terms of collecting the feedback and the consultation.
Well, there were 2 points that we mentioned in the report that were problematic. The first was that the trials and the consultation were stopped before the advertised date. So a lot of people who were waiting to see how the low traffic neighborhoods, worked and how, everything evolved. A lot of people waiting to give their opinion didn't have the chance to give their opinion because consultation was stopped, before. And the second problem was that the questions were very binary. So the questions were sort of yes, no, interrogative. So for people who had nuanced views, who had views in the middle of the spectrum, we imagined that it would have been difficult to give an answer. I imagine that if you are not 100% supportive, if you were not 100% supportive of the LTNs, you could not say, yes, I support the LTNs. And then what you had to say is no, or was no. Sorry.
Okay, that's really clear. Thank you. I'm sure we can help. That will feed into. I've got Councillor Loveland, then Anderson, then Rigby. Then we must move on to the final deputation. Yeah. Councillor Loveland.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just say I found the report you submitted really an interesting read and quite a heartening read. And I was quite struck by the fact that you had actually sought views from a wide range of groups, some of whom we know would not have been that enamoured of LTNs in the first place, by Wandsworth, obviously. It seems to me that we've beaten a retreat from LTNs for the time being, and okay, for understandable reasons. But what occurs to me, the challenge is really to find, when I was reading what you were saying, finding ways to deliver on the aims of the Transport Action Plan in full. And that's a challenge for us as a council to think about, and for us as a committee to think about, I guess, as well. But have you got any thoughts on what some of those ways might be, I wonder, just to contribute to the discussion?
Well,
thank you.
from the responses that we got, so we gave people in the survey, we gave people the opportunity to, tell us a bit more about what they liked and, what they didn't like about the low traffic neighborhoods, and so on and so forth. And a lot of the negative feedback in those reports were that the communication from the council had not been good. That there was, people had not been told about the LTNs beforehand. People had not been explained what the LTNs were about. So what we would recommend is, more community engagement, genuine community engagement, better communication. A lot of people also mentioned that they wanted the council to collaborate more with TfL, since, the aims of TfL and the aims of Wandsworth Council are overlap on some level. So a lot of people wanted more collaboration between the council and TfL. So
I think that's a
collaboration,
very good point.
engagement, communication.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I've got 2 more quick questions, please, from Councillor Anderson and Councillor Rigby.
Thank you. I just think for future deputations, it would be much easier if we could have some opening statement to understand everyone. I think even more when we're having a virtual meeting and we're meeting everyone just on a screen, it would be even more helpful to.
Well, perhaps we can take that outside the meeting, Councillor Anderson, through whips or something.
Quite hard. You've got 2 conclusions, Aisha, and thank you very much for your paper. Could you just summarise those 2 conclusions for us? Because you've got quite a few interesting differences from the paper that we're about to be discussing. But what would you like to see happening next as a result of doing the survey?
Well, Wandsworth Council should not give up on the low traffic neighbourhoods. The negative opinions, the vocal negative opinions that we heard during at the beginning of the trials, because they were stopped at the very beginning, at the beginning of the trials, these vocal negative views are not the whole picture. The whole of Tooting, the entire Tooting community is not against the low traffic neighborhood. So, I think we have a little bit over 51% of our respondents who support in some way the low traffic neighborhoods in Tooting and in Wandsworth. So the council should, work towards reinstalling, re-implementing those low traffic neighborhoods with, again, better communication with the community. And engagement with, of the community.
Thank you very much. And then the final question is from Councillor Rigby.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, in the papers tonight, there's a proposal to reinstate one of the LTNs, which is the one in Oakmead. The rest will remain suspended. And how long do you think the community can cope with the suspension for even those who were against the LTNs or those who were for? What do you think is a reasonable amount of time for the term suspension before we actually get to closure and conclusion?
Aisha, are you able to answer that?
I'm not sure. Could you sort of rephrase the question?
Yeah, so we're in a period of suspension.
Yes.
From your point of view, what would be a reasonable amount of time for us to remain in suspension without getting to a conclusion?
Oh, I think, it needs to come. We need a decision from the council as soon as possible. Either, reinstate the low traffic neighborhoods, or, not reinstate the low traffic neighborhoods. And if there is no re-implementation, of the low traffic neighborhoods, what else is the council going to do to help with the high level of traffic around Tooting, the pollution? What else is the council going to do to make the streets of Tooting, healthier?
Well, thank you very much. Absolutely, and this is what we're going to go on to debate with all the members. But thank you very much, Aisha. That's been really helpful, and I think we were all very impressed with the survey you did and the input you put into that. So thank you.